This video is for educational purposes only and is not investment advice. Please consult a financial advisor before making any decisions.
Welcome! Today, we're diving into a really popular option strategy. It's one that can help you generate some income and maybe buy stocks you like at a discount. It's called the cash secured put.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been watching a stock? You love the company, you've done your homework, but you just look at the price and think, I'd love to own this, but I just wish it was a little bit cheaper. Well, guess what? The strategy we're talking about today is designed for that exact situation.
Here's the game plan. We're going to break this down into 5 simple parts. First, a quick refresher on what options even are. Then, we'll get into the strategy itself. After that, we'll walk through a trade, step by step. Then, we'll calculate the potential profit and loss. And finally, and this is super important, we'll take a hard look at the risks. Sound good? Let's jump in.
All right, first things first, what in the world are options? We got to know the building blocks before we can build a house, right?
At its heart, a stock option is just a contract. That's it. It gives the owner the right, but, and this is key, not the obligation to buy or sell 100 shares of a stock at a price they agreed on beforehand. We call that the strike price. And these contracts don't last forever. They have an expiration date.
And there are basically 2 flavors of options, calls and puts. Think of calls as the optimistic choice. You use them when you think a stock is going to go up because they give you the right to buy it. Puts are the opposite. You use them when you think a stock is going down because they give you the right to sell it. Now, for our strategy today, we are going to be living on the put side of the street.
So let's get to the main event, the cash secured put. And I love that subtitle, getting paid to wait. You might be thinking, well, why not just set a limit order to buy the stock when it gets cheaper? It's a fair question. The key difference is, with this strategy, you actually collect cash for your patience.
This analogy is perfect. Think of yourself as an insurance company. Someone else owns a stock and they're worried it might fall. So they pay you a fee, we call it a premium, for protection. In exchange for that cash, you promise to buy their stock from them at that lower price if it does fall. You're selling them a safety net.
So here's the official definition. It's really 2 things happening at once. First, you sell what's called a put option. That's your promise to potentially buy a stock. And second, the cash secured part just means you have to prove you can make good on that promise. You have to set aside enough cash in your account to actually buy the 100 shares if you have to. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this actually works. Let's get our hands dirty and walk through a trade, step by step, to see the mechanics in action. Let's invent a company. We'll call it Mao Stock. Right now, it's trading for $100 a share. You've done your research, you like the company long-term, but you'd feel a whole lot better about buying it at $90 a share. The whole process really boils down to these 4 steps. First, you sell the put option. Second, you instantly collect some cash. Third, your broker sets aside the money to back up your promise. And finally, the easy part, you just wait.
Okay, so steps 1 and 2 happen together. You go into your account and you sell 1 Mao put contract with a strike price of $90. For taking on that obligation, bam, the market pays you a premium instantly. In our example, let's say it's $5 a share, which comes out to $500, since 1 contract is for 100 shares. That cash is yours to keep, no matter what.
Now for step 3, the cash secured part. Your broker won't just take your word for it. They're going to set aside the cash needed to fulfill your end of the deal. The math is easy. That $90 strike price times 100 shares is $9,000. That money is held as collateral in your account until the trade is over.
So the trade is on, and now we wait for that expiration date. When that day finally comes, only one of 2 things can happen. Let's break down the money side of each scenario.
Let's start with scenario 1. The best case if your goal was just pure income. If Mao stock is trading anywhere above your $90 strike price, the option just expires worthless. It's useless. I mean, think about it. Nobody is going to use their right to sell you a stock for $90 if they can just sell it on the market for more. So you simply keep the $500 premium, your $9,000 in cash is released, and the trade is done.
All right, now for scenario 2. What if the stock price does fall? If Mao is below $90 when the option expires, it's considered in the money, and you're going to get assigned. This just means you have to fulfill your part of the bargain. You buy 100 shares of Mao at $90 each, using that $9,000 you had set aside.
So let's crunch the numbers here. Your maximum profit is always capped at the premium you received, in this case $500.
Your maximum loss is pretty big. If the stock went all the way to zero, you'd lose $8,500. But the most important number on this slide is the break-even point. Because you collected that premium, your effective purchase price isn't actually $90.
And this chart makes it super clear. The stock started at 100. You targeted 90, but because you got paid that $500 premium, which is $5 a share, your real cost basis, your break-even price, is actually $85 a share. You end up owning the stock you wanted, but at a huge discount to where it was trading and even a discount to your target price.
Okay, so far, this probably sounds like a pretty sweet deal. Getting paid to potentially buy stocks cheaper? What's not to love? But hold on. This strategy comes with some major trade-offs, and this next section on the risks is something you absolutely have to understand.
This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of it. The number one mistake you can make is getting greedy for that premium income. You should only, and I mean only, ever use this strategy on a stock you are genuinely happy to own at a price you are genuinely happy to pay, because there's a very real chance you're going to have to.
So let's break down the risks. First, your profit is capped. If Meow stock suddenly shoots up to $150, you don't see any of that. You just get to keep your initial $500. Second, you are obligating yourself to buy a stock whose price is actively falling, which can be a little scary. And finally, that $9,000 is just sitting there, tied up. You can't use it for any other investment opportunities that might pop up.
So when you boil it all down, the risk you're taking on is very similar to just buying the stock in the first place. If it goes to zero, you lose almost the same amount of money. The huge difference is, with this strategy, your potential for profit is capped, and you're buying into the stock while it's showing weakness. And that brings us to the final question you really have to ask yourself. For a company you truly believe in for the long haul, is getting paid a small amount of money to wait for a lower entry price worth the risk of being forced to, as the saying goes, catch a falling knife? The answer is different for everyone, and it depends entirely on your own goals and your tolerance for risk.